What if I told you that 10 simple Amish garden tricks save 50 to 100 hours of work every single season? That traditional methods prove far more efficient than modern time wasting approaches? Proven labor saving techniques refined over 300 years reduce garden workload dramatically. Today, I'll show you exactly how to reclaim your time. Newspaper weed barrier: lay wet newspaper 8 to 10 sheets thick between rows and around plants, blocking 95% of weeds entire season. Cover with straw or wood chip mulch for appearance and weight holding paper. Newspaper decomposes by year-end, enriching soil with carbon while eliminating weeding labor. Free material from recycling centers or neighbors eliminates cost completely. Traditional Amish method used before plastic landscape fabric invention proves equally effective. 30-minute spring setup replaces 20 plus hours summer weeding, making this ultimate time-saving trick. Replaces expensive landscape fabric at zero cost while providing better soil benefits through natural decomposition process. The planting board: wooden board with nails or dowels driven through at exact crop spacing, creates reusable planting templates. Press board into prepared bed surface, creating perfectly spaced indentations for seeds or transplants. Plants entire 4 by 8 foot bed in minutes versus measuring each plant individually, wasting hours. Works perfectly for lettuce, carrots, beets, radishes, and onions, requiring precise spacing. Make once using scrap lumber and use for decades without replacement. Saves 2 to 3 hours per season, eliminating measuring and spacing calculations. Children plant accurately using boards, ensuring proper density, maximizing yields. Different boards for different crops and spacing requirements provide a complete planting system. Bucket drip irrigation: a 5-gallon bucket elevated on cinder blocks with tiny nail-sized holes drilled in the bottom creates gravity-fed drip irrigation. Fill the bucket once, and it waters slowly for hours, delivering moisture directly to the root zone. Eliminates daily hand watering, saving 30 plus hours per season on watering chores alone. A free or $5 bucket replaces $100 plus commercial drip irrigation systems, working equally well. Waters deeply encourage deep root development, creating drought-resistant plants. Moves easily between different beds as watering needs change throughout the season. Refill from hose or rain barrel depending on water source availability. Multiple buckets placed strategically automate entire garden watering with minimal effort or expense. The tarp harvest method: spread old tarp or sheet under bean, pea, or fruit plants before picking, allowing produce landing on a clean surface. Gather tarp corners after harvest, dumping everything into the harvest basket, eliminating individual bending. Saves 50% of harvest time, especially effective for bush beans requiring tedious picking. Clean produce never touches ground, reducing washing and inspection time significantly. One tarp serves the entire garden, moving from crop to crop as harvest progresses. Works excellently for crops dropping easily when touched, including beans, peas, and ripe cherry tomatoes. Children help harvest using the tarp method, making family labor more efficient and less tedious overall. SCCCS planting calendar: a simple chart created during winter planning, lists each crop with specific planting dates every 2 weeks throughout the season. Hang calendar in shed or photograph, with phone eliminating remembering or calculating when planting next succession. Prevents gaps in harvest, ensuring continuous production from spring through fall without mental tracking. 2 hours of winter planning saves 10 plus hours of confusion, missed plantings, and harvest gaps during the busy season. Maximizes garden productivity through proper timing without requiring memory or complicated calculations. Reuse template annually with minor adjustments based on previous year's success and failures. Share a calendar with family members, coordinating garden labor efficiently throughout the entire growing season. The permanent paths: establishing permanent paths and beds once eliminates annual reconstruction, saving massive time and improving soil yearly. The traditional spring ritual of redefining beds and paths wastes 8 to 10 hours, accomplishing nothing productive. A permanent system establishes once, then maintains itself for decades with minimal refreshing. The implementation method marks paths with stakes and string during initial setup. Make paths 18 to 24 inches wide, allowing wheelbarrow access to all garden areas. Beds measure 3 to 4 feet wide, enabling reaching center from either side without stepping on soil. Mulch paths heavily using wood chips, straw, or leaves, creating a solid walking surface. Enforce strict rule never walking on beds, preventing all soil compaction issues. Path materials comparison shows wood chips free from tree service companies lasting 2 to 3 years before needing replacement. Straw costs minimal, requiring annual replacement, but composts into adjacent beds enriching soil. Leaves prove completely free, needing frequent replenishing, but feeding soil continuously. Cardboard layered under mulch creates ultimate weed barrier lasting full season. Long-term benefits compound dramatically over years. Year 1 establishes paths and beds defining garden organization permanently. Year 2 shows paths solidifying and beds becoming easier to work with improved structure. Year 3 and beyond creates garden practically maintaining itself through established systems. 10 years of permanent beds builds extraordinarily fertile soil from undisturbed biology and continuous surface composting. Time savings calculation shows traditional gardening requires 10 to 15 hours annual bed preparation, including tilling, shaping, and path defining. Permanent system needs only 1 to 2 hours annual mulch refreshing on paths. This saves 8 to 13 hours yearly multiplied by 10 years equals 80 to 130 total hours reclaimed. Additional benefits include wheelbarrow access everywhere, clean shoes never muddy, clear organization visitors immediately understand, and planting layouts repeating annually, eliminating redesign work. The seed tape shortcut. Seed tape places seeds pre-spaced on dissolvable paper strips, enabling perfect planting without thinning. Lay tape in furrow, covered with soil, water and perfect spacing emerges automatically. Commercial seed tape costs $5 to $8 per packet, proving expensive for multiple crops. Making homemade seed tape uses toilet paper, flour paste, and saved seeds costing essentially nothing. Unroll toilet paper on table, creating workspace. Mix flour and water to paste consistency similar to glue. Dot paste at proper spacing intervals, matching crop requirements. Place one seed per dot, pressing lightly. Let dry overnight completely before rolling. Roll up finished tape and label clearly with crop and date. Store in a cool, dry place until planting time. Best crops for seed tape include carrots with tiny, difficult-to-space seeds. Lettuce creates perfect rows without tedious thinning work. Radishes germinate quickly with ideal spacing automatically. Beets eliminate thinning, saving significant time. Onions achieve precise spacing critical for proper bulbing. Time savings documented show traditional methods sowing thick, then thinning later requires 2 to 3 hours per crop. Seed tape method takes 15 minutes per crop from laying to covering. This saves 1.5 to 2.5 hours per crop. 5 crops using seed tape saves 7 to 12 hours annually. Thinning elimination value extends beyond time as thinning proves tedious and emotionally difficult, discarding healthy seedlings. Thinning sometimes damages remaining plants through root disturbance. Seed tape eliminates thinning entirely, producing perfect stands. Storage and organization keeps rolled tapes in labeled jars or bags. Make all seed tapes during winter for spring planting, creating productive indoor activity. 5 to 10 hours winter work saves 15 to 20 hours spring and summer when time proves most valuable. The mulch mountain method. Central mulch pile in garden center eliminates dozens of trips to distant compost area, saving hours of walking and hauling. Instead of bagging small amounts and moving repeatedly, wheelbarrow from central pile to beds as needed proves far more efficient. Materials to include combined grass clippings providing nitrogen-rich green material. Leaves add carbon-rich brown material free in massive quantities every fall. Aged manure contributes fertility boost when available from local farms. Straw provides excellent weed suppression properties. Garden waste, including spent bean vines and corn stalks, recycles nutrients. Building pile efficiently chooses central accessible location, visible from all garden areas. Build minimum 4 by 4 feet or larger, accommodating seasonal additions. Layer materials as available without complex ratios. Turn occasionally if actively composting, or simply use as aged mulch source. Time savings calculation shows traditional method requires 20 plus trips weekly to distant compost area. Each trip consumes 5 to 10 minutes walking, loading, returning, and unloading. Total wasted time reaches 2 to 3 hours weekly. Mulch Mountain requires 1 trip weekly from central pile. Savings total 1.5 to 2 hours weekly multiplied by 20-week season equals 30 to 40 hours annually. Additional efficiency benefits include watching pile shrink, motivating continued use. Always available mulch eliminates excuses for bare soil. Children help easily wheelbarrowing from pile as simple assigned task. Mixing happens naturally in pile without turning labor. Seasonal management uses aged material from previous year each spring. Summer adds grass clippings weekly from mowing. Fall brings massive leaf additions from yard cleanup. Winter allows pile aging and breaking down naturally, creating ready mulch for spring. Placement near water source helps moisture management. Visibility from house reminds to use material regularly. The wide row planting stem. Wide row planting creates bands 12 to 18 inches wide instead of single file narrow rows, reducing work dramatically. Seeds scatter or transplants grid across band width rather than traditional single file. Particularly effective for lettuce, carrots, beans, peas, and beets, producing 2 to 3 times more per linear foot. Why it saves massive time shows fewer furrows needed making one wide furrow versus 3 to 4 narrow rows, less path area required between wide rows maximizing growing space. Self-mulching canopy forms when plants mature, shading soil and suppressing weeds. Harvest proves more efficient picking across width than moving forward versus reaching repeatedly between narrow rows. Planting method prepares bed as normal, creating wide, shallow furrow 12 to 18 inches across. Broadcast seeds across entire width, distributing evenly. Rake lightly covering seeds uniformly. Alternative transplant in offset rows, creating solid band. Specific spacing within wide rows, plants lettuce 6 inches, all directions, creating grid. Carrots broadcast then thin to 2 to 3 inches apart. Bush beans plant in offset rows 6 inches apart filling width. Beet space 4 to 6 inches creating solid productive stand. Weed suppression benefit shows dense planting shading soil completely within weeks. Canopy forms in 3 to 4 weeks preventing weed germination. 70 to 80% reduction in weeding results from close spacing out competing weeds. Harvest efficiency gains allow reaching across entire width easily. Moving forward methodically proves faster than reaching between narrow rows repeatedly. 30 to 40% faster picking results from wide row system. Time savings total shows planting 30% faster from fewer rows. Weeding reduces 70% from canopy suppression. Harvesting speeds 30% from efficient movement. Combined savings reach 10 to 15 hours per season across all crops suited to wide rows. The volunteer plants self-seed from previous year, eliminating planting work and seed costs when managed properly. Tomatoes volunteer from dropped fruit rotting into soil. Lettuce self-seeds prolifically when allowed to bolt. Dill and cilantro reseed everywhere, requiring only thinning. Calendula returns annually without replanting. Arugula volunteers aggressively in spring and fall. Potatoes sprout from missed tubers left in ground. Managing volunteers versus weeding them requires identifying desirable volunteers in early spring. Thin to proper spacing, removing weakest plants. Transplant extras to desired locations, filling gaps. Leave some where they sprouted if location acceptable. Treat volunteers as free plants, not weeds, saving money and labor. Time savings enormous, eliminates 5 to 10 hours seed starting for volunteer crops. No transplanting needed if plants left in original location. Free plants save $20 to $50 annually in seed and transplant purchases. Strategic encouragement leaves best tomato on ground in fall, allowing seeds dispersing. Let herbs flower and set seed instead of cutting back. Don't harvest every lettuce plant, allowing some bolting and seeding. Accept slightly messy garden appearance for massive productivity gains. Which volunteers to remove includes cross-pollinated squash producing weird inedible hybrids. Tomatoes in paths transplant to proper locations. Overcrowded volunteers thin heavily to proper density. Deceased parent plants require removing all progeny, preventing disease spread. Long-term compounding benefit shows year 1 producing few volunteers. Year 3 brings volunteers appearing everywhere. Year 5 reaches garden 30% self-planting. Decade establishes self-seeding ecology requiring minimal planting intervention. Amish acceptance of volunteer chaos prioritizes production over aesthetics. Free food taken as blessing from Providence. Children learn plant identification through volunteer management. Reinforces food abundance mindset supporting self-sufficient lifestyle. These 10 tricks save 50 to 100 hours yearly through intelligent labor reduction rather than harder work. Small changes in garden systems create massive cumulative time savings over growing season. Permanent systems, including paths and mulch piles, compound benefits over years with minimal maintenance. Initial setup time investment pays back 10 to 20 times through eliminated repetitive tasks. Traditional Amish wisdom proves more efficient than modern approaches, prioritizing convenience over true efficiency. Work smarter, not harder philosophy creates productive gardens without exhausting labor. Start implementing 3 easiest tricks this season, including newspaper mulch, planting board, and bucket irrigation. Add more techniques as experience and confidence grow with each success. Time savings allow either garden expansion producing more food or increased leisure time enjoying life. Efficiency enables dramatically larger production without proportionally more hours invested. Share these tricks with neighbors and friends teaching traditional knowledge. Amish methods prove productive gardens need not consume every spare moment. Begin implementing today for immediate results transforming this season. Next growing season will prove dramatically easier through established efficient systems working automatically. Reclaim your time while increasing garden productivity simultaneously through proven traditional methods.